What's up? I'm the Pillbug, and welcome back to the Walking Time Machine. Last time we mingled with Whiskey in a French restaurant that Whiskey took her to one day, and then checked out a couple more areas that she remembers, including her chill spot, which is one of my favorite sections of this game so far. By the way, one of them. There are still a few more that we haven't gotten to quite yet, but we'll get to those when we get to those. For now, let's just play. The next day, Little Cado woke up early and headed straight to Gary and Quinn's room, hoping that at least one of those two would be already awake. He reached their door and became disappointed when it didn't slide automatically open. Realizing that the fate of his plan rested on Gary's shoulders, and asking him for a favor would probably go better if he was in a good mood. He rested his back against the wall next to the door and slid down sitting on the ground. Guess I'll wait then. Oh god, this part. I remember this. He scraped his claw against the floor, trying to carve his initials into the metal to fill the time and cure his boredom. After he had just finalized his mini carving, the door slid open and Gary came walking out, his legs dragging on the floor as he yawned. Gary! Whoa, Little Cado? You scared me. What's up? Sorry, I just need a bit of a favor. I know it's a big ask. It would mean a lot. It would just mean a lot to me if you did. Gary's on to Little Cado. Oh no. Well, what is it? Little Cado took a deep breath in. I need you to ask Avocado if he remembers anything about my parents because I want to learn more about them. Nobody else anything about them, and I don't want to ask myself. Whoa, slow down, Spider Cat. Why don't you repeat that just a little slower, alright? I just woke up. Can you ask Avocado about my parents for me and get him to explain everything he remembered about them in excruciating detail? I mean like place and time. Where was he when something happened? What was their house like? What did they smell like? Look, Elsie, I know you don't want to talk to Avocado right now, but don't you think that's a conversation for you and him to have? I don't want to step foot in your family biz when I don't belong. In case you forgot, you're also my dad. Forgot about that. Look, it would just make things easier, I think, if I heard it coming from you. Gary's gaze softened and he lowered onto one knee, putting his arm onto Little Cado's shoulder. I get it. I'll try my best. Thanks. They shared a smile and Gary stood back up onto his feet, stretching his back. Let's just hope he doesn't end up us. Fuck. Now fuck. Let's just hope it doesn't end in us bloody and bruised again. Thanks. Again, watch, show, go, do it. I'm not giving you context, go watch it. Really hope the background noise isn't getting caught on the mic. Little Cado followed Gary down the halls onto the ship, being told to stay put around a corner before the hall that led to Avocado's room. Gary had told Little Cado that he'd tell him everything, Avocado said after, but Little Cado knew how he couldn't miss any details. Not if he wanted his plan to work. Once the door slid open and closed again, Little Cado made his way towards the room. They knew Avocado would be awake. He always woke up earliest, so at least they didn't have to wait for long. Hey, Avocado! Their voices were muffled, but Little Cado could just make out what they were saying as he pressed his ear against the walls. What do you want so early? I know this is a big ask, but it's for Little Cado. Anything. Yeah? Yeah. Little Cado's heart sank a little, and he missed the days where that statement like that mattered to him. Well, he wants to know about his parents. Everything you remember, in excruciating detail. Oh. And he means, like, where were you? What were their house like? What did they smell like? I can tell him. And he wants to hear it from me. Oh. Hey, on the bright side, he made it seem like things might change after he hears this stuff. I think being honest with him might help him forgive you. That might not be so bright because I hardly remember. Really? Thanks to the blast, everything's so blurry. I know what I did, but I don't know any details. Except for the day I killed them. Little Cado wasn't prepared for the lump in his throat to choke him so strongly, and his eyes glazed up instantly. Hearing him admit it filled him with so many negative emotions at once. Joe, watch now. He shut his eyes and continued listening, knowing it would all be worth it. Yeah? Yeah. I don't think that's what he wants to hear, let alone something that would make him forgive me. Little Cado sent a silent prayer that Gary would have him continue regardless. It might be the only thing that could work. Well, I'm not him. You could tell me. Maybe I can sugarcoat it. Sugarcoat the worst murder I've ever committed? Good luck. Cado. There was a fire. Everywhere. Their castle was destroyed. Bombs were going off every second. The sky was red and covered in smoke. They were evacuating from a ship. Loaded up as many Ventrexian survivors as they could. Many of them from the castle. I walked through the rummage on the ground. The heat from the fire didn't bother me. I had been ordered to do one thing. I threw my weapon over my shoulders, and as the ship took off, I shot it. That's bright. Pieces fell from the sky, including the king's crown covered in his blood, and Little Cado. Little Cado felt like he was going to be sick. He stepped away from the wall, clutching his stomach in pain. His eyes clouded up, and before he knew it, tears streamed down his cheeks. But it was going to be worth it. Moments later, Gary emerged from the room, his face more grim than before. His expression changed when he noticed Little Cado and realized he would have heard it all. Little Cado! Thanks, Gary. I'm so sorry. Thank you. He turned away from Gary, thankful when Gary didn't try to desperately chase after him. He didn't need anyone's comfort, but he did need to see one person in particular, and fast. Oh. Bro. Hey, Biscuit.
Good morning, my precious little Dreadstone.
Whiskey opened her eyes slowly, hearing her father's voice from right above her. He smiled as his face greeted her, as well as the smell of breakfast. Morning, Dad.
Breakfast?
There was still some left?
Yep, plenty.
He jumped off her bed and went over to the bench, grabbing a bowl of mushed up and soggy pancake crumbs. Plenty for me? What about you? I can go get some more if you want.
Well, I was thinking.
He handed her a bowl and a spoon, and she scooped some of the soggy food, wishing she could enjoy pancakes the way everyone else did.
We could have a father-daughter day today. It's been a while since we did something together, so...
Oh no. Dad? I was gonna do stuff with Little Cado today. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Silence filled the air for a moment, and Whiskey felt her heart tearing into pieces. If only she could tell him that Little Cado was helping her understand her powers more. She was doing it to make him proud.
Well, how about tomorrow? Are you...
Wait, hold on. That was Whiskey. Sorry. Well, what about tomorrow?
Are you sure you won't be needing... Are you sure you won't be needed by Little Cado then?
Dad. She placed her bowl of food on her bed and stepped off of it, kneeling down next to Biscuit, who had his arms crossed. I promise I'll make time for you tomorrow. Just us. Just like it used to be. Biscuit's frown turned to a smile and his gaze lifted.
If you say so.
She looked to Biscuit's workshop side of the room, where he was still working on his own transporter to take himself to wherever Whiskey is in case of an emergency. You should take a break from that machine. Fuck me, I'm so sorry. She had control over powers. She didn't need it right now, and Biscuit had been working on it day in and day out. Get out of the room for a bit.
But I still have so much to do.
It can wait. I'm here with you now.
Oh, alright. Maybe I'll go and hang out with Avocado and Gary. We can have a dad day.
I think that's a good idea.
Every idea of mine is good, Whiskey.
Whiskey laughed once again, leaning into Biscuit, who caught her and laughed with her.
I'll see you later, then.
You will. No, they won't. They said goodbye to each other at the door, and Whiskey watched Biscuit walk off in the direction of the head of the ship. She went back inside to sketch in her journal a bit before Little Cado came to find her. When soon enough, the door slid open behind her and she felt his presence from the corner of her eye watching her sketch. Hi, Little Cado. Hey. She met eyes with him and saw his eyes were dark and teary. Are you okay? I will be. Where was Biscuit going? To find Gary and Avocado. Little Cado winced at the name and Whiskey got the idea, cutting her sentence short. You saw him leave? Yeah, he was walking out when I walked in. Told me to be careful with you as always. Whiskey smiled. What are you doing? Just finishing some sketches. Little Cado looked over her shoulder at the open journal in front of her. They are the places we've been. I like drawing them so I can remember them. Why not just take a picture or something? It's more personal this way. Plus, I love drawing. Makes sense. Whiskey looked up at his dark, tear-stained eyes once again. Are you sure you're okay? Yeah. Whiskey, I need you to do me a huge favor. Is that okay? Yeah, I'm just worried about you. Sorry, everything's okay. I'm just really excited. Bro. Promise? Promise. Okay, what do you need? There's this place I want to go to. It may be a little dangerous, but it would mean a lot to me. Whiskey bit her lip and looked down to the ground for a second, thinking before returning him a smile. Oh my goodness. Technically, going back in time to any place at all is a little dangerous. If it will help you feel better, then I'll do it. Little Cado's ears flicked up in happiness, and he reached over and hugged her quickly. Thank you. He got she, why do I keep mixing up he and she? She got caught up from her chair and granted him an opening into the shard, and he shut his eyes as he recounted what he remembered hearing. Are you ready? Little Cado breathed in. Fire and smoke everywhere. Red sky, a castle destroyed, explosions, with the ground coming to rummage and a giant ship with Ventrexians like us boarding. Two of them look like me, but older, obviously, and the ship taking off, going into the sky, only to be shot down moments later. Pieces of it falling from the sky. Got it. He touched the shard, purple light flashed, and suddenly Little Cado could feel intense heat coming from every angle. He opened his eyes and noticed Whiskey as he had taken them to the flame and rubble-covered ground. Whiskey? His eyes adjusted to the blinding light from the fire as he noticed her stumbling around, looking exhausted a short way away from him. Whiskey! He made his way over to her and held out onto her arms, looking for a way out of the fire. Fuck! Follow me, okay? We'll go somewhere safer. He held onto her and guided her through the fire and towards a large broken building. They found shelter behind one of the still standing walls of the structure. Why couldn't you take us somewhere without fire? She panted heavily, seemingly lightheaded from the heat, but regaining her balance. Look, I didn't have much to go with. There's the ship! She pointed behind Little Cado, who turned to watch as a ship flew up into the air, afraid of what came next, but too frozen to move. He continued to watch. I know that's not supposed to be his actual expression in this scene, but the fact that it didn't change sprites for it, he just looks bored watching the ship go up. Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. There's the right expression. Surely enough, moments later came the blast, and Little Cado coughed to hide his shock. Whiskey, can you get us inside of the building a few minutes ago? I think it's the castle. I can try, but I need to see what it's like inside. Little Cado looked around, trying to ignore the sounds of broken rubble from the crash falling from the sky behind them. He noticed that the castle was destroyed just enough for them to be able to use the broken parts to climb up. Hoist me up there! I'll pull you up! Whiskey nodded at him and got down on her knee, holding her palms together on top of it as Little Cado stepped on and jumped up as she moved up. Thankful that Whiskey was just strong enough to lift him. He landed on top of some of the cracked and broken stones beside the wall and reached down to pull her up with him. She got up beside him, but almost fell off, breaking off some of the cracked edge of the stone as she stood on it. She clung onto Little Cado's care. I definitely didn't have this in mind for a little dangerous! They started to climb up the side of the building more, Little Cado taking the lead confidently. unafraid of the danger that lay around them. It would be worth it. It's okay. The worst of it is fire, which I'm sure we can avoid. Nope. As they reach the top, they notice a giant heap of fire overtaking most of the castle's balcony. Whiskey climbed up after him, and he stopped her for stepping any more forward closer to the fire. They looked behind them and noticed there wasn't much ledge left behind them. It had a very narrow leeway through the inside of the castle. Over there, slowly. Are you sure? It's worth it, trust me. They stepped slowly, Whiskey almost losing her balance again, until they reached the part of the castle that was under cover and both exhaled as if holding their breath for too long. Is this inside enough? I'll try. She grabbed his arm and put his hand on her shard, opening her eyes wide at the scene around them as they transported. This time, when they opened their eyes, the ship was still in front of the castle and the fire blocking their way was previously gone. Is this good? I don't know. I can't see them. He got up and looked around, peeking through the doorways, but found nothing. See who? Little Cado was about to answer when the sounds emerged from the edge of the balcony. He ran to the edge of it and looked below them, where the ship had a ramp leading to the ground. I keep looking at the fucking peek file for the Audacity file. I'm really worried that something's gonna go wrong. Sorry. Wait! Whiskey ran up beside him, looking down also. Do you need to get down there? Whiskey, look out! A bomb was falling from somewhere in the sky towards their direction, and in a split-second thought, Little Cado guessed it was the thing that caused the fire when they had void before. He quickly grabbed her and touched her shard before the bomb hit them, and they were suddenly underneath the balcony. This time, Whiskey grabbed him and pulled him down beside some of the rubble so they weren't spotted. They peeked over the edge of the broken stones, and Little Cado watched in awe as what were supposedly his parents, the king and queen of Ventrexians, stood at the beginning of the ramp. They were holding a bundle of cloth, and upon looking closer, Little Cado noticed a younger version of himself. Is that them? Yes. My parents. He's scared. Trust. We're going to make it. Beside him, Whiskey shuffled and whispered, We are? He turned back to watch them slowly board the ship, knowing what their fate was next. He got up and jumped over the rocks, running towards them as the ramp closed shut. No! They will! They can still get off the ship! He screamed at the ship, hoping someone would hear him, when a pair of arms wrapped around his body and pulled him back into the strong force. Mom! Dad! Get out of there! He managed to break free of her grasp and ran towards the ship when suddenly it began to take off, sending a strong gust of wind knocking him back into Whiskey. He watched it fly off with tears in his eyes, and again, it exploded and reached the floor into pieces again. We can still go back and save them! He reached down to Whiskey's shard when she grabbed his arm strongly and stopped him. They met eyes sorrowfully. We can't. You know that. How is this any different from the cafe? We talked to people there. Can't I just go talk to them? Whiskey's eyes widened in fear, and suddenly Little Cado realized he had raised his voice. His ears dropped and he fell to the floor crying. I know there's nothing we can do. Wish there was, but... She got down to her knees and slowly putting a hand on Little Cado's shoulder and encouraged him to look up at her. Maybe I can make it better. No, let's just go home. He looked away and wiped his tears from his cheek, using his other hand to touch her shard again. Except, when they were transported, they were still in the castle. It was repaired, though, and the sky was dark as night. Whiskey smiled at him and held him up. Where are we? Shh. I don't know if my parents sang lullabies. Biscuit and I sing karaoke together sometimes. I like music a lot. But... She led him down a few halls into the castle, and suddenly a faint voice in the distance rang in their ears. It sounded like she was singing a song. They approached the voice silently, keeping their distance as they peered into the open doorway, where the singing was coming from. Lullabies seem like a motherly type of thing, don't they? Little Cado narrowed his eyes and recognized his own mother, the Queen, singing as she gently rocked a cradle. What's she singing? I don't know. Listen. Little Cado listened to her singing, a basic lullaby with basic nighttime lyrics, but something in it seemed familiar to him. She was singing this to help him sleep. The king made his way through the, thankfully, opposite halls to them and into the same room as them. Sleeping yet? Finally. So much energy in such a small thing. Imagine how we'll be when he's older. As if we need any less sleep than we get now. They laughed together for a change. Little Cado smiled. They laughed... Not that. They laughed together and for a change, Little Cado smiled. They did love him. They would have been good parents to him. Whatever. He furrowed his eyebrows and turned away from them, walking up to the balcony where they spawned and dangling his legs off the edge of it. Little Cado? I'm sorry if that didn't help. No, I appreciate it. A lot. Thank you, Whiskey. It's just... I'm thinking about all of the memories Avocado stole from me. What do you mean? Like that. That's the sort of stuff parents do. As well as teaching you how to walk, how to do backflips, you know. I don't. Go on. Like when Avocado got breaks from his duties and came to check on me in that dark red room I had a home in within... Fuck. Like when Avocado got breaks from his duties and came to check on me in that dark red room I had at home within the Lord Commander's fortress. I practically grew up there. I probably spoke my first words inside of that room. I don't remember. Whiskey sat beside him and stayed silent for a few moments before taking his hand and putting it on her shard again. This time, they were in the same room Little Cado was just describing. How did you... Shh. They were on top of the stairs, so they peeked over the edge of the railing and watched as Avocado held littler Little Cado and placed him onto one of the beanbags in the room. Stay here, Little Cado. You can't be following me out there. Dada! No, don't dada me. Stay here. Avocado left the younger Little Cado on the beanbag and turned to walk out of the room when he heard beans rustling from their soft chair and turned around again. Baby Little Cado was walking, slowly and stumbling, but he was walking. Avocado's eyes sparkled a little and his previously stern expression softened. He leaned down and held his arms out. Come on then, come to Dada. Baby Little Cado reached him and fell into his large furry hands, giggling. I know I've already seen this, but God, it's so fucking cute. Good job! Your first steps! You really are too curious for your own good. Seriously though, son, stay here. I'll be back soon. Baby Little Cado sat on the floor and watched with wide, curious eyes as Avocado slowly closed the door behind him and locked it shut. See, this is the sort of stuff I should have experienced with my actual dad. What other things? I don't know, like... I guess my childhood was a bit unnatural. What sort of things did you and Biscuit do? Inventing, making food, going on adventures, grooming, watching TV. Okay, absolutely none of that stuff I did with Avocado. Except the third one, maybe. Oh? There was this one time when I snuck on to one of his and the Lord Commander's ships when I wasn't supposed to. I got in so much trouble. But Avocado was secretly proud of me. I know it. Dada? Oh no! I forgot about this! Oh no! The two of them looked beside them and noticed that somehow while they were talking, baby Little Cado made his way up the stairs and towards them. This won't break anything, will it? I don't think so. Do you remember anything from when you were that little? If I saw an older version of myself, I probably would. Little Whiskey tilted her head, looking at the small orange Ventrexian. He's kind of adorable. Yeah. Deciding that this was probably safe to interact with an infant version of himself, he decided to pick him up and hold him in the air, something he remembered enjoying as a kid. I remember when Avocado used to do this to me when we'd get a chance to play. Felt like I was on top of the world. He held baby Little Cado down again, and the smaller tiny paws grabbed at Little Cado's cheeks. He smiled, admiring his young shining eyes. But it should have been with the king, right? Little Cado was suddenly reminded of his anger. He flattened his ears and put down the baby version of himself. Right. Whiskey grabbed his arms again, and suddenly he felt the cool contact of the crystal on his fingers. It seemed Whiskey had control of his journey. This time, they were outside of the room, watching him inside a small window as Avocado did exactly that when Avocado did exactly what Little Cado did to his younger self. Both of them looked so happy, like neither of them had anything else to care about except each other. why do you keep sending us back to these? I'm curious. About what your life was like. I don't know what my life was like during these moments, but I wish every day I could have experienced it with Biscuit. I don't think it's about blood. He let me believe I was his son. For me, it's different for you, and I get it. But Avocado really tried. And he was good at trying. But things are different now, and I don't think I'll ever see him the same way. I don't think you have to. Maybe you can see him as what he was. He had no idea what message Whiskey was trying to get at, but watching the old memories made something inside of his heart ache. Avocado wasn't his father, but he was something to him at that point. A caregiver. And even if he did kill his real parents, it's not like he didn't try to make it right. Little Cado knew he'd never forgive Avocado for as long as he lived and didn't believe he had any right to be forgiven, but my favorite memory with Avocado was when he got me a gift for my birthday once. Or, well, I don't know if it was actually my birthday anymore, but it was supposed to be. What did he get you? My very first blaster. This time, he maintained eye contact with Whiskey while poking her shard gently. They got taken back, luckily, still watching through the window. Little Cado pressed himself up to close it, watching the memory fondly. I think it's my favorite because, I don't know, we never really had time to exchange gifts or anything, but I've always looked up to him, in a way. He's the best at battle. I don't know anyone with better aim or maneuvers. And when he finally passed that down to me, and started teaching me combat stuff the very same day, yeah, it really just felt like he was my dad, you know? Yeah. They watched his younger Little Cado open the gift and immediately shot one of the walls. Avocado told him to calm down and pulled out his own and showed him how to hold it. Little Cado sighed. He'd give anything to go back to a simpler time like that. But at the same time, he'd give anything to share that memory with his real father. As if his life wasn't stressful enough already. While watching Avocado demonstrate his own weapon, Little Cado heard his younger counterpart let out a purr, similar to Whiskey and Biscuits. Look, Whiskey, I guess I can purr. Oh no. Oh god. Oh god, I remember this! I remember this! Oh no! Oh god. Whiskey? As Little Cado turned to face her, he saw her collapse to the ground, struggling to breathe. Oh my god, Whiskey? He dropped to his knees beside her, gripping his hair, stressed, looking down at her shard. He noticed it had cracked really bad, glowing purple liquid seeping through the sides, the purple in her half-open eyes flickering. Whiskey, are you okay? As the shard in her body flickered with her eyes, she realized that the shard wasn't just part of her body, it controlled it. It was probably the only thing keeping her alive. Okay, 30 minutes on the clock. I think now might be a good time to, save. Keeping you fuckers on the edge of your seats, because holy shit. This part gets intense. But for now, I'm going to leave this episode here. Okay. Oh my god. I'm just going to say it. Y'all aren't ready for what happens next. Oh my god. I remember this part vividly, and oh my god. I don't think I can probably describe it like here without actually reading it, but I'm going to leave it to the next episode. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you liked it, hit the like button. God. Just cut to the outro. Cut to the end screen.